Hi, I'm Andre. Nice to see you again on my channel, and a special shout out to my subscribers who come here to watch my movie reviews. If you're new here, make sure you click that subscribe button because I review movies all the time on this channel, and I'm starting to review more movies suggested by you. You suggested that I watch the Lego Batman movie. I already did a review of that. I had a great time with that movie. Loved how it was able to make so many references to the Batman mythos, to the universe of Batman, while having a very fun film. But you also told me that there is another Batman movie that did that that's on DVD, and I checked that out because you suggested it, and now I'm gonna talk all about it. And this one is a different way of talking about the Batman franchise, but I loved it all the same. Batman! So the movie that I'm talking about is called Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders. It actually came out last fall. It had a one-day screening, one of those Fathom event screenings in theaters, and then it came out on DVD and Blu-ray. And the special thing about this Batman movie, it is an animated movie, but it is done like the classic 1960s Batman television series. Even going as far as getting Adam West, Burt Ward, and Julie Newmar to come back to voice Batman, Robin, and Catwoman, as these were the characters that they played in the original series. So the 1960s Batman was a series that I grew up with. So, and I didn't grow up with it in the 60s, I'm not that old, but I used to rerun it all the time in the 80s. I think the Family Channel, back when it was just called the Family Channel, used to show reruns, or one of the cable channels used to show it. I used to watch it all the time. What was nice about it was it came on around like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock time frame, so it was right after the cartoons and right before my parents would take over the TV to watch their reruns of Matlock or Murder, She Wrote. So it felt like it was a show that I could watch alongside my cartoon. So it was a great transition from animation to live action because it was kind of a live action cartoon. It was very campy, it was really cheesy, but what was nice about it was that Batman played it straight the entire time. No matter how ridiculous the villain was, no matter how ridiculous the plot was, they would get these ridiculous, silly traps all the time. You had the announcer come in the end of the episode, will our dynamic duo be able to get out of this one? Same bat time, same bat channel, you know? But Batman always played it straight. He's stopping villains like the Joker and the Riddler. And of course, the classic, whenever he would punch someone out, you'd see like the little symbols come up, BAM! Pow! Boof! And of course you got that iconic theme song. Batman! 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 Na 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 Batman! Pow! Biff! Bonk! I just really enjoyed that show. The 60s Batman got me into Batman, and it also kind of got me into superheroes in general. It was watching reruns of that in the 80s and also watching the reruns of the old Superman series on Nick at Night. That's what kind of got me into superheroes. Like I've said in other videos before, while a lot of people got into superheroes through comic books, I got through it through TV shows. So, to see this movie that is pretty much point for point exactly like this show, but done in an animated form, was really awesome. This thing plays like a two-part Batman episode, which is cool because most Batman episodes were two-part episodes. That's why they would have that break to have you come in to watch the next one. Same bat time, same bat channel. But yeah, this plays like one of those shows. And it also feels like a sequel to the 1960s Batman movie. So in addition to being a big fan of the show, I used to watch the Batman movie all the time. Like my parents would get mad at me because anytime it came on TV, like back when we had HBO or if it would play on basic cable, they would get mad because like, you don't watch the Batman movie again? I was like, yeah, because the Joker, the Riddler, Catwoman, and Penguin are all together. Usually on the show, you would just have one villain. So in the movie, they had 4 of them, so that was awesome. So in this movie, Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders, they do the same thing. The Joker, the Penguin, the Riddler, and Catwoman are in this movie. Now, the other actors are no longer with us, but the people that they got to do the voices for Joker, Penguin, and Riddler, they like nail it. It's like dead on. Like the way that they made the Joker and the Riddler and Penguin sound, it sounded just like the actors that played them in the show. Penguin's got his wah, 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 and the Riddler's doing that question. He gives his riddle answer. And I was like, wow, that's so like him. And then the Joker, they got the laugh down and everything. So it was really cool. It just felt so authentic to that 60s Batman. I don't know how many people are remembering that show from the past. If you're younger, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it really is an exact replica in animated form of that show. There's even a couple times when like Batman does a little speech in the movie about jaywalking or something like that. I was like, this is totally what he did. He would fight crime, but he would always give these little weird lessons.
We're in a hurry, Batman.
Jaywalking is extremely hazardous.
Gosh, yes, you're right, Batman.
Quickly, Robin, to the crosswalk.
Or, you know, they're climbing up the wall. They did that whole bit. But because it's animated, they're able to do a little bit more with this than they were able to do on the original show. So there's a whole sequence that happens in space. There's some action sequences and things that they're able to do because of the fact that it's animated. The animation is a little stiff. Like, it's a little like not very fluid. I don't know if that was just a budget thing or if they kind of did that on purpose to match the television show somewhat, but that's the only thing about the animation. It's not really crazy animation, but the drawings look good. Just don't expect a lot of fluid movement, but it doesn't take you out of the movie. It's still entertaining. There's a lot of references to the old show. They bring in classic characters. O'Hara is there with Commissioner Gordon, if you remember the television series. You know, Alfred's there. There's a really cool Easter egg where Batman is kind of seeing a little bit of blurred vision of Catwoman, and she turns into 3 Catwomen, and it's based on the 3 actresses that played Catwoman. There was Julie Newmar, and then in the movie it was Lee Merriweather, and then eventually Eartha Kitt played Catwoman. But this movie was also smart in doing something that the TV show did as well, which is even though it was campy and silly and goofy, they found ways to throw in a lot of innuendo, like stuff that clearly the parents were supposed to get that you didn't get when you were watching it as a kid, but then if you watch it now, you go like, oh, I see what you did there. This movie does that too. You know, particularly when you're dealing with Batman and Catwoman, there's a lot of things that are being said there that are like, oh, okay. And they even get Robin into it a little bit, or the fact that Batman always has something on his utility belt that's helpful for him in whatever situation he is in. Like, he just always knows exactly what to have on hand no matter what. Of course, there's the infamous bat shark repellent, but it's always something no matter what the villain plans, whatever gas or device or whatever they zap them with, whatever that does to change them, they always seem to have something available to change them back. Or they can always create an antidote if they don't have it. And that plays a part into this movie. Something happens to Batman that makes him change, and Robin has to figure out the right antidote to change him back. And that's where this movie also gets interesting with the Batman universe as a whole. Without giving too much away, Batman does start to go through a little bit of a change because of the adventure that he's going on, and the changes seem to be very slightly, not too much, but slightly referential to some of the other Batman ways that we have seen him. There's direct dialogue, there's direct lines, and there's different actions that Batman does. And you can be like, wait, that kind of reminds me of Batman from the comic books later on when they started making him really dark, you know, the Dark Knight Returns type stuff. Wait, that sounds like Michael Keaton Batman. Wait, that kind of gives me the vibe of a little bit of Christian Bale, Christopher Nolan Batman. Like, it really tried to make these references. They're not as blatant references as like the Lego Batman movie, but if you're a diehard Bat fan, you may notice a line of dialogue, you may notice an action that takes place and go, oh, I get what you're doing there. So it was this way of just trying to say, like, when Batman goes through this change, that he's starting to act more dark and serious like the other Batman versions we've seen, as opposed to the campiness of the Batman that this world is set in. I kind of feel like that the only bad thing about this movie is I feel like they could have done that even a little bit more. Like, they could have probably played it up a little bit more, maybe made it a little bit more blatant that he was now becoming the other type of Batman versions, because I feel like it's very subtle in how they do it. They still try to keep it in the world of the 60s Batman, but just show that he's slightly changing. Then there's this other plot line that happens with Batman that's just absolutely insane. It's a funny visual gag, but it's just kind of crazy. but yeah, I think that it would have been nicer to see, like, maybe if he would have changed his costume, or maybe they would have just played up a little bit more of the other Batman versions happening in the 60s Batman universe. I think that could have been fun. Maybe that's something they could do in a sequel. But yeah, it's only about an hour long. I found it on Redbox, so it was really easy to just rent it for like $1 and watch it. But if you're a hardcore fan of the old Batman series, it's probably even a must buy. I mean, it's a really cute movie. It definitely has that Batman mythos of the 60s series while still paying homage or being a little bit of a satire of the way that Batman has changed from the 60s to today. But I really, really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for suggesting it. I had heard about it, but I didn't know that, like, when it came out or if it was already available, that sort of thing. So you telling me that this existed after reviewing Lego Batman was very helpful. So I watched this because of you. So thank you for that. If you ever want to suggest a movie for me to watch, please do. Please write it in the comments. Please tweet it to me at Black Nerd. I'm always interested in looking at movies that you suggest. As a matter of fact, there's another movie I watched based on your suggestions, and I still haven't talked about it, but I want to talk about it to the max. But I'll save that nugget of joy for another time. The things I do for you. The movies I watch for you. And to make sure your suggestions get seen, I highly recommend subscribing to my channel and also ringing that bell to be notified of future videos that I make, because I usually read the first comments on most of the videos that I post. So if you're notified, you'll be the first to know the video's up. You can be one of the first to put your comments in, and who knows, maybe your movie suggestion could get reviewed right here on this channel because of you. So thank you for that. I really appreciate your support. I love you like a play cousin. I'm Audi 5000. Batman! Yo, na 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 na.